What's up? The video gonna be about old racist trash Jared Kushner, who's Donald Trump's son-in-law, and this old Ponzi scheming jive garbage turkey had the nerve to talk about black folks have issues with inequality and racism as complaining. I'm like, you old fossil. I said, you old great-great-grandchild of Jim Crow who ain't done nothing, who's had white privilege. Well, he only been over here over 400 years and did everything to build this country. What have you done? You and your father-in-law are both white privileged neo-Nazi garbages who don't know the first thing about an honest day of work, riding coattails, and got the nerve to talk about black folks. And it's the same turkey who had issue with NBA players protesting racial injustice. See, this is why this country stays so racist and so divided. You get cats who obviously have had white privilege and want to act like everyone should just go along with that mental illness. Because white privilege is mental illness. America has allowed mental illness. Racism is mental illness. Superiority is mental illness. Institutionalized systematic racism is mental illness. And a lot of white America need some psychiatric help for allowing it to be the norm. When people say we're in the new normal, which looks a lot like the old one except there are limitations, well, the so-called normal was pathetic and embarrassing. This new normal is pathetic and embarrassing because it still has some of the factor and some of the old. The only good thing about the new normal is that they've actually talked about it a little bit and actually implemented something. I don't want to go back to the so-called normal because the so-called normal was racist, mental ill, and people like Jared Kushner, who is embarrassing, need to go somewhere and sit down and get a real job. If he don't face no handcuffs for Ponzi scheming. I mean, it's the kind of white folk that talk like that talk pompous and arrogant, how can you speak about race of people who've been oppressed and been neglected? And there's a reason why when Trump talks all that craziness about he's done more for black people since Abraham Lincoln, and they took a poll and 87% of black folks disagree, but duh. Because aside from the ones who shake and bake and shuck and buck and cluck for him, ain't most real black folks ain't trying to hear about no Donald Trump. And the only ones that really support him are the ones who gotten some money. The ones that are in the money club, got some click and they tax write-off. Ain't nobody no real common sense gonna be messing with that evil, racist trash, broke, bankrupt, corrupt. And then his old punk son-in-law coming here talking on this yang. He sucks. I mean, they need to go somewhere and sit down somewhere and get a real job. All he's good is running their mouth. And he's a bum. Talking this talk about, yeah, if you ever had to experience 1 week of what it's like to be black and lose your white privilege, I bet Jared Kushner would shut up for life. He'd run from this country. He couldn't make it. Most of them couldn't make it. Because they'll never know what it's like to be African American in this country and have to deal with the mental illness that is called the United States of America systematic and institutionalized racism, and have to go through the acting, the everything that goes on, and act like you don't see, act like you don't hear, act like you don't know, as they talk in codes and tongues, and they legislate in old decrepitated buildings and can dictate how your life goes. Yeah, he'll never understand it because he's the great-great-grandchild of Jim Crow. And they've covered his behind. And he's flexing his white privilege in your face. That's my thoughts and takes about racist trash Jared Kushner. Talking about black America is having issue with and saying or complaining. Only thing I'm complaining about is that the media gives trash like that a forum to talk. You talk about some turkey needs to be on mute. He ain't got no talent. WXYZ, he's probably like a Y level of talent. You know, he's just another bone of white privilege. All right, that's my thought. Takes it to like, subscribe, and the bell rings in the video. Wash your hands, keep your mind clear, watch out for another. And these Klansmen talk a whole lot of hot air out of Washington. And they flex their white privilege. They flex that Jim Crowism. But no one's sweating this turkey because it won't be long. His behind is going to have to get a job for real. I'm out.